What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Third Floor Lounge podcast. Hope everybody's excited for a great show today. And before we dive into a couple of subjects, just want to remind you guys we're partnered with High Spot Podcast. Make sure to check them out on Instagram under that name. Also, YouTube. Again, High Spot Podcast. There's some awesome wrestling content on there, guys. Also, we're adding a couple more sports. There's a Mets podcast coming out. I'm pretty sure that is debuted on the page. So, guys, don't forget, check it out, subscribe, hit the links, and just keep following along with our content because we're going to be building an awesome network around the High Spot podcast. So, with that being said, I want to introduce my co-host, Bill. How's it going today?
It's going well. It's going well. I'm ready to talk sports.
You ready to talk about the issues that the Los Angeles Lakers have now? Because LeBron fans are just rummaging through their desks to find excuses right now about what's going on. You want to explain that to us a little bit?
Yeah. It's going really bad for the Lakers right now. They're on a 4-game losing streak. They've lost to Brooklyn, Miami, Washington, and Utah.
Washington.
And Washington, the Washington Wizards. Like, how are they losing to the Washington Wizards? They shouldn't be losing to all those teams. They should at least get a few wins. I don't care that Schroeder and AD are out. They should not be losing in this fashion. LeBron, if he's going to win MVP this year, which winning MVP this year I think is really important to him. He's 36. I think this is one of his last years that he can win MVP, which is pretty crazy to say at 36 that a player can win MVP. But if he doesn't win another MVP, then he won't have 5, which is how much Jordan has, how many MVPs Jordan has. So LeBron has 4, Jordan has 5. So if he doesn't win an MVP this year, it's going to be a struggle for him to ever be considered the GOAT over Michael Jordan. And winning right now is very important to him winning the MVP at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously without Anthony Davis and Dennis Schroeder, those are 2 huge defensive pieces that aren't there that are going to affect the game. With that being said, I mean, okay, obviously the Nets come in. They come in without Kevin Durant. You know, the Lakers didn't have AD, bit of an even playing state, and the Lakers didn't show up to play. Okay, you sweep that on a rough. Then the Heat, who just, collapsed against the Warriors, they come in, they beat them. And then the Wizards – Phil, did you see that game? I mean, the Wizards were down about
awful. It was awful.
7 points in the fourth quarter. They came back in overtime and won the game.
It's really bad for the Lakers right now, and that's going to affect them at the end of the year. You know, if they lose a seed or 2, if they go down to the 3rd, 4th seed, like that's gonna come back to bite them in the playoffs. You know, because then they won't have home court advantage against teams like the Jazz or the Clippers, depending where they land, and that could actually come back to bite them at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, look, we all know that's like NBA regular season is kind of arbitrary in a way, because obviously you want to play your best game in the playoffs, and that is months from now. With that being said, it's still pretty noteworthy that this cast of players for the Lakers outside of Anthony Davis and Schroeder haven't been playing well. Marc Gasol has not been playing well at all. I mean, what is he averaging? About 4 points, 5 rebounds a game. He's not much of a presence going on there, and that was, a big free agent acquisition they had. Horton Tucker has not really come on down the stretch. Kuzma has been a little better, but, I mean, collectively, they don't play collectively as a team. So it's like once one of those superstars are out, the whole dynamic really changes. And we've seen other teams without certain players still, find a way to have some success this season. But that is not the case for the Lakers right now. And like I said, it's not, it's not the end of the world. But Lakers fans saying that, it's just playoffs and brushing it off, they're lying to themselves too a little bit. It is noteworthy.
Yeah, it definitely is because if one guy goes down, that just tips the whole ship. That's going to look really bad come playoff time. They better really pray that everyone stays healthy.
And it was funny. Obviously, we were talking about Utah, and I mean, look what they did against the Lakers, and they're pretty much everything the Lakers aren't. Dude, they pass the ball around. Like everybody is involved. Everybody off the bench is involved. Jordan Clarkson's 6th man of the year right now, and with that style, I don't know how far Utah's really going to go, but with that style, it gives you different ways to win games, when you include everyone in the team like that.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens when Anthony Davis comes back. They have a big game against the Portland Trailblazers coming up, so that'll be really interesting. But I had to clear the air on that because I can't stand these Lakers and LeBron fans just oh whatever, just pulling out the excuses. Anthony Davis,
Yeah.
you should still be competing better than that. It's not a good result on the court right
No
now.
doubt. No doubt.
But staying within the West, actually. Another team that's been a bit of a letdown, actually, maybe even more than that, Dallas Mavericks. I mean,
the
a lot of people were
Mavericks,
excited to watch them this season, obviously, with Luka.
I think they had the best offense in the league last year. They put up like historic numbers with Porzingis and Luka, or I should say Porzingis was out some of the year. He's always hurt, is what I'm trying to say.
He's always hurt.
And he's always hurt. And that's what's really the nail in the coffin for the Mavericks. They might make the playoffs. They might get the 6th, 7th, 8th seed. But at the end of the day, this duo with Porzingis and Luka is just not going to work. Porzingis is never healthy. And even when he is healthy, he's not playing in back-to-backs. He's constantly getting injured. They're paying him $30+ million a year, and they will be paying him that for the next 4 or 5 years. So there's no getting out of this unless you ship him off, which I don't know if a lot of teams want to take him right now. He's 7'2". He's getting hurt. Like, guys that are that tall, some of them just can never stay healthy, and he's one of them. He can't play in the post. He can shoot, but he's not quick enough to blow by people. So at the end of the day, he's kind of a useless piece that plays well when he's healthy, but if he's never healthy, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, they lack that physicality, like, in the paint.
Exactly.
I mean, we saw, obviously, I think, probably the best moment of Luka's career so far in the bubble when he hit that buzzer beater, against the Los Angeles Clippers. That gave him the win for that game, tied the series up. And after that, Porzingis is out and, they get steamrolled. And it's kind of like the same story. Honestly, if Porzingis was in there too, like, I don't think it'd be that much.
They wouldn't be winning an insane amount. Like, they'd be better than they are, but it's just they still don't have all the pieces necessary to be a winning team.
No, they have a lot of work to do. And obviously, even with that being said about Porzingis, think about it. Besides, like, Luka and the score, like, do they have, like, a really good shooting guard that can kind of take over and take some of that pressure off Luka, too?
I mean, they traded for Josh Richardson, who they expected to be a great defender who can also provide offense. But
I haven't seen it.
So far, he's not provided much offense, and he's been an average defender, And you shipped off Seth Curry, who would have been a huge part of spacing the floor and providing that offense and shooting. So it's almost like Daryl Morey fleeced the Mavericks, just another blunder by the Mavericks front office.
Yeah, what is Mark Cuban doing? He's spending too much time on, like, Shark Tank or something like that.
I know.
Reviewing somebody's aprons that can pull out utensils. Meanwhile, his franchise is plummeting into the ground, and he's wasting years of Luka.
Exactly.
So that's definitely a problem, I would say so. But even I think even if they kept Curry, like, Curry is a great shooter, don't get me wrong. Even if they kept him, like, I don't think it'd be crazy different at this point.
Nah, I mean, they'd still struggle on defense. You get a little boost in 3-point shooting, but if you're giving up 120 a night, 130 a night, there's no stopping. It's hard to win. You just need Luka to just go Super Saiyan every night, which isn't a strategy that will work.
Yeah, it's just not like it's not a long-term answer. And they play in the West. It's like there's a conference that is just always flooding with. There's so many different teams. Obviously, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Blazers, the Nuggets. Like honestly, all those teams. Can the Mavericks beat any of those teams? in a 7-game series.
They definitely can't beat them in the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind that they would lose in the playoffs to all those good teams.
Yeah.
It's just like they can get a regular season win here or there. They might make the playoffs, but they're not going far in the playoffs with this duo of Luka and Porzingis. It's just not going to happen because maybe if Porzingis stays healthy, they could. But with Porzingis' constant injuries, it's just not going to happen.
No, definitely not. Switching gears, we do want to switch to a little football because there's a few teams to talk about right now. Well, a few instances we did have a big story. It was like a kind of a big story, but then Adam Schefter kind of pulled out the fire extinguisher. Russell Wilson was, apparently he didn't request a trade. But he said if I were to request a trade or a trade were to happen, some teams I think of the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Bears. And, right? It was just kind of funny how he just rolled those teams off. So he's definitely thinking about it, but I don't think it's going to really happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, but if they're let's open the door a little bit because the Seahawks said that they're asking for 3 first-round picks to start. That's just the starting point, right?
That's just a start.
That's just a starting.
That's just the appetizer.
Yeah, I mean that's just like okay, that's the bare minimum for Russell Wilson right now.
Yeah.
So if a team were to have some ludicrous offer, just some offer that's just insane, maybe the Seahawks think about it. I don't think they trade him. I think that would be silly to trade a top 5 QB in the league who struggled at the end of the year. So I don't know what that was about, but we'll see if Russ is really, really unhappy, kind of like Deshaun Watson, which I don't think he is as unhappy as Deshaun Watson, and there's some crazy offer that a team provides, it's not out of the question. It's not out of the question.
Yeah, like my take on it is like it's okay to like have disagreements upon what direction the franchise should go in, and then you could like find a way to figure it out. Nowadays, like social media is like someone gets a sniff of like a player not being happy. Oh my God, they're gonna get traded. Like it's gonna happen. Like people go insane with that stuff. And with that being said, I'm on Russell Wilson's side with this. Like, dude,
you gotta be.
What's going on in Seattle right now? Can we just acknowledge what the hell happened in that playoff game against the Rams? What happened? They literally just got beat up at home.
Yeah.
They barely took a swing back. Wilson throws a pick 6. Metcalf's having issues on the sideline. Defense getting punched in the – I mean, like, Jared Goff didn't even start. And then he came in, he's like leads them to like a 3-score win.
Literally. He had surgery like last week or something, the week before. And it's crazy that the Seahawks personnel is just not good enough, and they've constantly put around mediocre talent around Russell Wilson. Like they have not had much playoff success for years. Every year it seems they make the playoffs and then they just flame out in the first or second round of the play. Like it's not good enough. If you have Russell Wilson, you have to put better talent around them, and they're just not doing it.
No. And, I'd like to see that change. I mean, the guy's in the prime of his career, but, they should be able to work through some things. I think getting rid of Marty Schottenheimer was great move. Yeah. Now that he's out of there, they could kind of rebuild what kind of offense they're trying to fix in. But, I mean, continuing with the quarterback storylines, don't forget, Dak Prescott is still scheduled to be a free agent. And, that's going to be another situation. All these crazy quarterback situations we got going on.
It's crazy. Like, Dak, I mean, I just don't know what the Cowboys are doing. I guess they just don't want to commit to Dak long term. I guess they just don't believe he's the answer because
I just don't understand. What does that mean?
I mean, it's just every year his price goes up. So what are you doing? Why are you waiting to sign him? Every year the quarterback market just goes up and up. Yeah. If you just keep waiting to sign him, then you're just going to pay him more in the end. So I really think that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys just don't want to commit to Dak long term. They just don't think he's the answer.
It's so stupid because they literally gave in to Zeke. and gave Zeke a long-term contract. That was literally the worst move they could
One of the worst
possibly make.
contracts in the league. One of the worst contracts in the league. Top 5, I'd say, worst contract in the league.
Go back and watch highlights of Zeke in his rookie season. Then literally watch highlights from any other season.
Yep.
Dude, he is a totally different player.
He is.
2016, he was breaking away, splitting safeties, like ripping off huge runs, like that, hurdling people. Like, dude, that stuff does not happen as much often anymore.
Exactly.
And now the whole offense, before Dak got hurt, the whole offense is rolling through Dak's arm. I mean, the receiving core is like unreal right now. That's the identity of the team now. It is no longer a run-first team with Jason Garrett gone.
No, especially with a bunch of their offensive line, guys retiring, guys getting injured.
Yeah.
That was a big reason that Zeke Elliott was good after his rookie year. He had such a great O-line in front of him. And that's the thing. Running backs just get worse with age. They don't get better. So he'll just get worse every year from here on out. Every single year, just worse and worse. And you're just paying him this crazy amount of money for production, for very little production. Like Tony Pollard at times looked better than Zeke this year. Looked better. And you're paying Zeke $90 million? Like what? That contract.
Anybody that drafts running backs high or pays running back, like you're pretty much basically like you're a boomer at that point. Like it's just
exactly.
Like it's just like it's old school.
The 1970s. Like
we all know they don't run the league anymore. Like,
yeah,
it's just, I don't understand, and that's where they really messed up, and like they have themselves in a pickle now. Moving on to a team that has a great running back situation, and a team we saw win a playoff game, which was really, really awesome. The Cleveland Browns. I wanted to include them in today's episode because they're definitely a team that is up, when previewing for next season and which teams are going to take that extra leap forward. I think they're right there in front to take that extra step for the AFC North title.
Yeah, I'd say that the Browns have a really good shot to win. I think the Ravens – I still would put the Ravens a little ahead of the Browns because
come on.
Just because with Lamar, with Harbaugh, Lamar's just a winner. I know you don't like Lamar.
He's a regular season, yes.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about. Who's going to win the division? I think Lamar and they always have good talent on the Ravens as well with Harbaugh coaching. Like that's just a winning team. That's just a winning organization. They don't lose much. They haven't lost much with Harbaugh at the helm. They seem to never lose. So I think that's but still the Browns are a good team, and I still think they will have a good season. They just have some question marks with Odell.
Yeah, and even to go on here, let me just clarify. I don't hate Lamar as a guy or teammate. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great teammate. He's unbelievable. And he's obviously a very explosive player. With that being said, he can't throw the ball.
Yeah.
He cannot throw the football. We saw this in the playoffs. Even against the Titans, his biggest play of the game was that 50-yard rushing touchdown. It was amazing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to undermine anything, but against a team like the Buffalo Bills, and when he goes on, against a defense that kind of has him figured out, if they get down by multiple scores, the game is almost over at that point. If they get down 17 points, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
Because you can't throw them back into the game. With that being said, obviously they're going to be a threat. They swept the Browns last season, so that's a pretty big, reason. They still show that they were the, big brother in town. But Cleveland, I think, is really establishing this identity of this old school run game mixed with the gunslinger and Baker Mayfield. And that's something I really love. Obviously, Kevin Stefanski was coach of the year. He did a phenomenal job. I mean, who wins a playoff game for the Browns? That doesn't happen often.
It doesn't happen.
I do think, the Odell, you got to figure out what you're going to do with Odell. Either you're going to trade him for defense, which I think they should do, because that is where they could use more depth.
Because, you look at Odell with Mayfield versus without, and Mayfield with Odell threw 10 touchdowns to 7 interceptions this year. Without Odell, including playoffs, he threw 20 touchdowns to 1 interception.
Wow, that is crazy. He only threw one interception.
It's crazy. It's crazy how much of a difference it makes when Odell is not on the field for Mayfield.
Was that against like the Chiefs? I think like Tyrann Mathieu. I think.
Yeah, I guess so. That's not to say that Odell isn't talented and he can't help your team.
No.
But
yeah.
There's something to say when Baker Mayfield has constantly looked better without Odell. He just doesn't force the ball to Odell. He's smarter with his decisions. He knows he has to spread the ball around. He has to make better reads. He knows he can't just be bailed out by a good catch from Odell, and that's what really changes a team. That's what happens in football. It's a team game. You know, you can't force it to a guy. You have to really look at the guys who are open and who aren't double teamed, etc. And that's why I really don't even think Odell will go for a first round pick anymore. You know, he's getting older. His injuries are building up. He hasn't caught more than 6 touchdowns in a season since 2016. I just don't think he's worth that much, but I still think you should trade him.
Yeah, I agree totally. That's where it's like you think about, because they definitely need help on defense, and
Definitely.
you know, I think there's still a team out there that could definitely use a guy like Odell. And like you said, it was perfect explanation, because Odell is a guy that's like, he's a receiver that needs targets. Like, he's not gonna fit in the role. The Browns, what they have right now is a dynamic offense with 2 running backs and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Those guys carry the offense. Like, that is their identity. You never want to get away from what your identity is. Okay. And Odell is more of like a Devontae Adams and a Michael Thomas, where obviously, you know, the Packers and Saints have great running backs, but those guys get tons of targets, and that's why their game has expanded so much. He's one of those guys, like, he needs targets in order to find a way to really like gel within the offense. And obviously we saw him go. You know, they could have beat the Chiefs in that game. They came very close to doing it.
That was exciting to see for the Browns and their fans. Like, they were this close, you know, with Mahomes out, you know, they could have done it. That was their little opportunity to go to the AFC Championship.
Definitely. And I mean, you know, we also happened with the Super Bowl. I would almost preferred them to win that game looking back now.
Yeah.
But definitely some good stuff. I'm a huge fan of Odell. I want to see him have success. You know that. You know, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows I'm a big fan. But you know, he's got to go to a team.
I'm rooting for him. I want him to come back to the player he was. But hopefully he recovers well. Hopefully he's back to old Odell. We'll just have to wait and see.
For sure. But that being said, we're going to sign off for this episode, guys. Thank you for tuning in. And don't forget, High Spot Podcast. That is their Instagram handle. Awesome content on there. We're going to be breaking out a lot of more stuff and more characters along the way. And don't forget, also on YouTube, High Spot Podcast. Guys, give it a follow. Hit the subscribe button. That'd be awesome. It'd make our day. And with that being said, Bill, get ready to sign off and watch some Lakers Blazers tonight. So definitely should be interesting. Take care, everybody.